Gentlemen, we're back into open session.
That's a good thing. 30 years.
It's still May 16th, 2012. And our first item in open session is request to continue under determination of applicability. Black Beach Harbor Head Association, care of William Retznikoff, the entire length of the dirt roadways for Little Neck Bars Road, Black Beach Hills Road, and Drift Road, West Falmouth, for permission to rough grade the existing roadway, give the road a 2% cross slope going away from the wetlands where possible, add less than 1 inch of native dense fill, fine grade, and then compact the roadway after wetting. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until June 6th.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, motion on the table is a continuance to June 6th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Request to continue under a notice of intent. Paul Yankee, 194 Edgewater Drive East, East Falmouth, for permission to replace 2 10-inch existing pilings and install 2 new 10-inch pilings.
Yes, Madam Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance till June 6th.
So moved. Second.
Any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, hearing none, motion on the table is a continuance for June 6th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Minutes, 4/18/2012.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I've reviewed the minutes and find them substantially correct and move their approval.
okay. We have a motion and a second. Any other comments?
I have a couple comments.
Okay,
Page 3, and I can provide,
yeah, you can just hand it to her.
okay,
Yes,
page
okay.
3, there was a discussion over the significant shellfish area, correcting it to 38 feet. Page 7, my comment was, will there be work performed at low tide? Needs clarification. Page 8, my questions and comments were not noted, and I'll pass it over to you. That's correct.
Okay,
That's it.
thanks. So there's a motion on the table to accept the minutes with the discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. 4/25/2012.
Can you do those next week?
Do we have, we'll do it next week? Okay.
I think you were just.
Okay, request for a determination of applicability. Matthew Seiler, 67 Nashawina, off 67 Nashawina Street, West Falmouth, for permission to remove the driveway and install native trees and shrubs.
Yes,
Jen.
Madam Chairman, the staff has reviewed the project, and we are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved. Second.
Any questions on the board? Are there any questions from the audience? Okay, just for those of you who aren't familiar with how this works, a negative determination means that the people can go ahead with what they proposed and discuss with staff. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Lawrence Humber, 105 T-Ticket Path, East Falmouth, for permission to pump and fill SAS system, reuse the septic tank, and install a new 3-bedroom Title V sewage disposal system.
Yes, Madam Chairman, we have reviewed the project, we're recommending a -2 under the bylaw and -3 under the state with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved. Second.
Any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, motion on the table is to accept staff's recommendation of a negative determination. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Good evening. Megansett Yacht Club, 237 County Road, North Falmouth, for permission to remove and replace a section of concrete patio in the same footprint and to deposit sand in a 40-foot by 48-foot contained area.
Yes, Madam Chairman,
Volleyball court?
no,
Oh.
it's underneath the existing deck, so
Okay.
We've reviewed the project, and we're recommending a -2 under the state bylaw.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of motion on the table, which is to accept staff's recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Nelson Petrolia, 28 Whitecaps Drive, East Falmouth, for permission to pump and remove the existing leaching chambers, relocate and sleeve the water line, and install a new Title V sewage disposal system.
Yes, Madam Chairman, again, we have reviewed the project and are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
You can choose. Any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, motion on the table is to accept staff's recommendation of a negative determination. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Continued request for determination of applicability. Black Beach Harbor Head Association, William Retznikoff. This is continued to June 6th. Ms. Stover and Mr. Sawyer, 90 Gansett Road, Woods Hole, for permission to remove and dispose of a failed sewerage disposal system and to replace with a new Title V sewage disposal system. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, recommendations a -2 under the bylaw, a -3 under the state with the boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Any questions from the audience? Okay, motion on the table is to accept staff's recommendation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Olive and Hobby, 52 McCallum Drive, Falmouth, for permission to remove small trees, remove broken branches, remove maple tree fallen into pond, vista prune, and prune yews and rhododendrons.
Yes, Madam Chairman, we've reviewed the project, we're recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Any questions from the audience? Okay, motion on the table is to accept staff's recommendation of a negative determination. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Okay, moving right on to request for hearings under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authority of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. First up is Joseph and Jean McCabe, 86 Eel River Road, East Falmouth, for permission to restore the unpermitted removal of 27 trees and cutting of shrubs within resource area buffer by installing native trees and shrubs using sprout management on trees that have been cut down and the associated landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'll save any of my comments until after the applicant's presentation.
Good evening, Mike.
Madam Chairman. My name is Michael Borselli from Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant. I'm joined tonight by Teresa Sprague of Blue Flax Design. We have both been retained to propose an application to you to restore a buffer that has been degraded by cutting. We discovered that some work had been performed on the site when we were on an adjacent property. The property owner in question is a client of mine. I discussed it with him and informed him that there were some violations and recommended that he reach out to the Conservation Commission. I had a meeting with Jen, and then we had 2 or 3 subsequent meetings with Jen, Teresa, and I on site and in her office, and we filed a notice of intent and a plan to restore the buffer after consulting with Jen. We took her advice. Teresa Sprague has submitted the plans to you, a management plan and a restoration plan, and all the application documents have been submitted to you for your review. And with that, I'll turn it over to Teresa, and then we're here to answer questions.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Teresa? Good evening.
Good evening. So the goal of the management plan and the restoration plan is to manage the previously cut oak and cherry trees within the buffer zone back to a healthy canopy using best arborist practices. As you can see on the restoration plan, there were 27 trees cut in this area. It was a mix of pitch pine, cherry, and mostly oak trees. Many of those shown in orange on the restoration plan are good candidates for being managed back into full-size canopy trees. There are, however, a few that are not good candidates to be managed back into full-size canopy trees, 9 trees in particular. And for those, to mitigate for those, we're proposing to replant 9 trees and 18 shrubs. In addition, we'd like to monitor for and manage any invasive plant species that may be found within and around the project area, while providing regular monitoring reports to the Conservation Commission over the 3-year period. What we found here when we went on site was that a significant amount of cutting was done. However, there is a very healthy, intact native plant community on the site right now. There is no soil disturbance, there was no root disturbance, and the oak cherry trees are resprouting vigorously. In addition to that, you can see on the plan, the marks shown in blue are sassafras that's colonizing the area. Again, very healthy sassafras community colonizing this area. I think now that there's some light exposure, sassafras was able to grow up in there. In addition to that, there's a healthy understory canopy consisting of bayberry, blueberry, black huckleberry, arrowwood viburnum, greenbrier, fern, checkerberry, and Pennsylvania sedge. There's also several amelanchier throughout the property, and they're noted in red. They're flagged in red. If you went out to the site, we recently flagged all those trees. It sort of looks like the League of Nations out there, but to sort of show what's regrowing and what condition it's in. So the amelanchier are also resprouting vigorously, very healthy. The goal is to replant 4 pitch pines and 5 either oak or tupelo to replace those 9 trees that cannot be managed back into canopy trees. The reason that I'm leaning a little bit towards tupelo is simply because it's difficult to get any good size oak trees because they're a taprooted species. Generally, they come in 2-gallon sizes where you can get a larger caliber tupelo tree in right away. And again, a mix of 18 shrubs, including arrowwood viburnum, bayberry, and highbush blueberry. I think the overall goal of this is to maintain the intact existing native vegetation without causing any major disturbance. My initial concern was if we had to replant for every tree that had been cut, there would be so much disturbance within the buffer zone that we'd actually be doing more damage than good. And when we had an arborist out to examine the trees and the health of the plant community, it was clear that there is an opportunity here to manage a significant number of these trees back to healthy canopy size. So I think with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, the photos that are going down, the board was an aerial that shows the area before disturbance, and the photos show the area before disturbance. So those of you that had not seen the area prior to the past week, know what it looked like.
But of course,
It
many of
was-
us had
it was-
seen it
it
prior
was,
to past
It was
last
a
week.
major violation. When I spoke with the applicant's representatives, I asked them to present the plan to you in this way because I really just had no idea what to do with that. So the one thing I did ask them to do is identify, as Teresa said, the trees that could actually be managed and could become healthy canopy trees again, and those are clearly marked. They are proposing, as they said, the nine trees?
Yes.
Yep, 9 trees, and the 18 shrubs for the 27 or so that were cut. And that is just going to have to be the board's decision of whether you feel that's adequate or not. There is it is a healthy understory community that was there, but the removal of the wildlife habitat and the trees was significant.
Okay, thanks.
It was mine.
Okay.
Oh, and I would make a recommendation to the board to include all of the old records on this, because it does have some information that might be useful to you as far as the history of the site and what it looked like prior to.
I really don't have any questions. I feel like I fully understand the project.
Okay,
I'm good.
okay. Court?
How long do you anticipate it'll be before it's fully restored and things are back to their original height and all that?
We anticipate about 2 feet of growth per year.
Many?
About 2 feet of growth per year for the trees when they're managed
Yeah, okay,
as.
that doesn't answer the question. How many years to get to where it was?
To get to where it was, well, maybe we can have our forestry manager come up and answer that question for you. He can probably answer better than I. This is Keith Johnson from Billingsgate Land Management, who put together the coppice regeneration plan.
Courtney, about 30.
About 30 years?
Yeah.
How big are the trees that you're planning to put in?
We'd recommend somewhere between 1.5 to 2.5 inch caliber trees.
Did I hear you say 1 foot?
1.5 to 2.5
Oh,
inch
oh.
caliber trees. Sorry.
I have no other questions.
Michelle?
No questions.
Ed?
No, I'd like to take the administrator up on the suggestion that we include the prior record into
Okay.
the record of this hearing.
Thanks. Oh,
Yep.
you've already gone. It's your turn.
I'm good.
I just had a couple questions. On this plan, you don't show the lawn line. You show some of the native vegetation line on either side of the house. But I think it's important to understand that in the old file, where, I don't know where the old lawn was, because I remember these houses were built not very long ago. And one of the big discussions this board had was if you could put a ladder up to work on the house, on the deck, or anything. And there's a substantial lawn out there now, so I would make sure that the old record, we'd look at that, because it might be that we will want more plantings in the lawn area. I also think that this particular project is a candidate for markers or a split rail fence of some sort, because it will be an indication not to go any further. There are ornamentals planted in the bark mulch. I don't think, and again, I think the limit of work from the old order of conditions is going to be very important to mirror here, because the hydrangeas with the viburnum probably, I don't think we permitted hydrangeas. So, they're beautiful, but I don't think we put them there in the plan. And that might be another place to put a row of bayberry or some native shrub that will be another lineal vision for somebody that would be inclined to go and remove things. And that's pretty standard for an area like this that has been violated. The only thing I did notice out there that I think for staff, it would be very prudent when you do finally get this moving forward, to put taller stakes next to each tree that you're, because to walk through there, I mean, with the catbrier and the poison ivy, which doesn't bother me, but I think staff doesn't really want to go out in the ticks
Yep.
that were crawling all over you today. The ticks were awful out there. I'm still picking them
Yes.
off. To put stakes next to the trees
Okay,
so that they can just get a visual
yes.
from, maybe the deck or something and see where you are.
Okay.
And there were also quite a few stumps that weren't even marked out there. So what's going on with those?
There were some old pitch pine.
Not the pitch pine, there were some that were actually regrowing.
The ones that were regrowing,
Yeah,
so there
stumps.
was, I wonder if it was the trees, because I did put green pin flags.
Yep, I saw those.
So those were for the trees that we're proposing to replant, to
Right.
replace, that weren't stump sprout candidates. There's also some Quercus ilicifolia that were not flagged, and we discussed this with
Oh, okay.
Jen, because they would not naturally make a canopy tree.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we weren't including including those.
As long as staff is comfortable with
Yeah,
that.
and the whole purpose of trying to do the flagging was simply because I was worried that stakes or pin flags, you wouldn't be able to see them if you were standing above or from the area, but we can definitely stake.
We'll probably put that in the conditioning, just so that, you know,
Sure.
and that,
Like use
they'll-
like
an
4-foot
oak
tall
stake will last 2 to
stakes.
3 years, so
Yep.
it'll be a good indicator, and, you know, you can maybe
Yep.
even write on the stake which one you're doing.
Yes.
And I would, the other thing that was on this plan, there was an awful lot of salt marsh, which I was really happy to see, regenerating. It would be the southeast.
Yes.
Up in this corner. So I think that should be put on a plan, just so we know it's there. It's healthy on the south, or.
Southish.
Yes,
Yeah.
on the south side.
That one's beautiful, yeah, but right,
She's saying northwest,
north,
no, south,
south, no.
east,
East.
southeast. The other
The other side
of
of the lot.
Oh.
The other side of the path,
There.
southeast. My bearings are
The
wrong.
north side of the,
Yeah, and it's starting to grow in. And I'm sure the use of the beach probably has, you know, discouraged some of it, but that might want to be marked also, so that we know it's there. One question, when you're digging the holes for especially the 4 to 5 foot and even the 1.5 caliper oaks, which I would prefer oaks over tupelo.
Okay.
But that's just my opinion, because that's what was there.
Yes, yep.
And that's what they cut down. That the dirt not be put, when they dig the holes, usually they just get tossed into the existing vegetation.
Yes.
And that, you know, you either put it in buckets to haul it out and whatever, so
Yeah,
we're not
no,
gonna condition that, but
yeah.
just so the client knows that that's an added labor expense or whatever to do this.
Okay.
And other than that, that was it.
Mike,
no questions or comments?
Ted.
Yeah, it was kind of confusing trying to figure out, I mean, we find some of these big oak stumps and then the other ones, and then which ones were gonna be staying, which were gonna be.
Yeah.
But, the sad thing about this is I understand why it was done to get a view, but when this grows in, they've lost that view much more so than they would have left, they left above.
Yeah.
And they were limbed up.
Yep.
And then everybody thinks, imagine it's just for the sale of the home, or I don't know why they do this, but when that canopy starts creeping up, it's blocked the view much more so than it would have been if they had left it alone. But I want to remind the board, that 27 trees, I guess, I'm not sure, I didn't count them all.
More or less.
I would take any 3 of those trees, put them together, and you're going to have the same caliper inch that they're replacing. So, just so you know what kind of replacement we're getting. If the caliper inch of the replacement 9 trees, 2 inches, 18, put 3 of those 8, 4, 6 together, that's 18 inches. 20, 30 trees pretty much have been taken out. You're getting only 3 trees replaced caliper inch per caliper inch in the A zone.
I think Courtney said that. I think
I
you're
don't think
saying.
so.
No, I think you're making the same point with
No,
a
I'm just giving you the
different, with a different
math.
approach.
I'm giving you the
Right,
math.
Right,
You're getting 10%.
right. Courtney?
Yeah, I don't think, I think these trees are gonna be bigger. I've done some quick calculation math. It says here, there was testimony that it would take 30 years to restore this. Okay, if I'm around in 30 years, I'll be 112. I'm not sure I'm gonna enjoy the benefit of that, restoration. And therefore, that's fine, you want to have some of these trees sucker and you trim them and you manage it or however you call it. But I want to see some big trees go back in there to replace the big trees that were cut down. And I will not vote for any order of conditions that does anything less than that.
I guess the one concern that I had with putting in larger size trees in this area is that the amount of disturbance that this will cause, there's certainly areas that now there's an opportunity, they're clear, there's no existing native vegetation.
No, I understand.
And certainly the other concern is there is a little bit of shrub honeysuckle. As soon as you're disturbing the soils to the level that we're talking about to replant trees, caliper inch for caliper inch, or 2-to-1 ratio or anything like that, we're doing so much more damage to the buffer zone than replacing the trees. One of the benefits of doing the stump sprout management or coppice regeneration, whichever term you prefer, is that those root systems are intact They're healthy root systems, so you're going to actually get greater growth from those trees than if we were to even put in a fairly large-size caliber tree.
I'm
with-
not suggesting that you put 27 trees in. I'm
Okay.
suggesting the trees that you are proposing to put in
Yep.
are be a lot bigger than the ones that you're suggesting.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay, after my turn,
Thank you.
This one, which plan?
Well, either plan. Most of you went out there, didn't this part have trees?
Yes.
It does. I actually have photographs of the site. Can I?
Yes.
Well, I
pass
know,
them?
but those trees should be on this plan. All the trees
All
that
the
are.
trees that are existing. We only located the trees that were.
I know, but we would hate to go out there and see another set of trees gone.
Okay.
Better to
Yep.
know where they are now.
Okay.
The second thing is, I'd like to suggest when we sort of finalize what we're going to do, that the replanting be done this year. but-
Absolutely.
But we give a 5-year order so that monitoring continues for 5 years. So I just want to make those 2 points. Okay, are there any other
I have a couple of
questions?
comments.
Yeah, Jen.
I asked this when I met you guys out on site.
Mhm.
Who was the landscaper?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that.
I have no idea.
Because I have the name of the landscaper in this file from when they came to Vista Prune. And I would really hate, I want the name of the landscaper. I mentioned that at the site visit, you guys all know. And
Yes.
Teresa, I'm staring at you because you're at the podium.
I know, and I'm
But
like, I don't know.
I asked for that, you, all three of you heard me. I want that name. I have a name in this file. And I do have a question for Keith. When do you think the work was done?
In the neighborhood of 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay. So right after we granted this gentleman compliance on his house. So just for the, and I asked you that for a reason, you don't know that information. But this board issued this man a compliance, this property owner compliance on his work. Then he went in and took the trees out.
Yeah, I mean, the
Same
4 or
owner?
5
Same owner.
Same owner.
Yeah, 4 or 5 of us
Same
were
owner.
on that,
Yeah,
were
on
on
the
that
board.
board. We remember. That's why I say there,
So
some of us
I'm
who
just
remember
saying-
what this looked
and
like
I
originally.
do have the name. And I'm not saying that this particular person did the work. But I want the name of the landscaper that did the work, and I want the applicant to present that name to this board.
Question, if, through chair to my fellow board member, Courtney, what would be big enough to put out there? What size would be appropriate if the smaller caliber trees as proposed and the stump sprout isn't appropriate? How big should it be?
My own feeling is it should be at least 6 inches.
And now, through the chair, if I can ask Keith, a 6-inch tree would not be carried by, I'm just asking.
Not by me, no.
No, or myself, I believe.
Or many of us.
It would be
It's probably
something
a
machine.
neighborhood of 2,000 pounds.
Okay. And the root ball would be over 5 foot?
Probably not 5 feet, 4.
4 foot?
There.
Too much equipment.
And how many of those do you want to put out?
Will be 3 times that size,
Yeah.
generally.
Yeah, I understand the violation, I understand all those things, but if you're taking a machine into this area where it's confined, and you're gonna plant in, how many would it take? You know, six of that, as opposed to, you know, I just don't see sometimes the benefit of the larger diameter tree, as nice as it would be, and would cut the duration down to have what they used to have. But I really think that maybe instead of,
Maybe they need to bring a helicopter in and lower the trees in.
and that, you know,
I can
that,
answer all this. And Maury can
Yes,
tell you.
go ahead.
Maury's dropped off, what, 4 or 5-inch caliber trees at my house? And this is before my back was so bad, I would put that in my own wheelbarrow, take it in my living room, put it, dress it as a Christmas tree, take it outside and plant it in January. None of them died. Hemlocks, pines, did it for a while. That's a wheelbarrow, and that's a 4 to 5 inch. There are bulk carriers that can carry a much bigger tree. And we don't have to talk about 6, we don't have to talk about the size. The reason it's important about the size is once this area starts regenerating, there's gonna be invasives and all kinds of stuff coming in there. And the faster we get these things above that canopy and get them to take over, the better chance we have of those surviving. And the more we keep saying, okay, well, we'll walk in a 1.5 inch, plop it here and there, and then the, honeysuckle and everything else crawls all over it, it's gone.
Well, that brings up another point. I think part of the condition of this should be invasive management.
Yeah.
Because you know that there's going to be invasives coming into this site.
Yeah. So it's not, a 6-inch caliber is only this, at the, 6 inches above the root ball. That's it. It's a 6-inch caliber tree.
I was, not to interrupt Ted, but I was always under the assumption, when we were talking about caliper size, that it was at chest height.
At a young tree, at a whip.
Chest height.
No,
But when you
that's-
go
that's
down, you go
TBH
above
is
the,
at
you go
chest
above the
height.
root ball.
All right.
That's right above the root flare.
6 inches above the root ball is where you go to.
This is good information for me, so that
You
I'm
gotta
not,
get a little bigger before you start doing DBH.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, that's why I'm,
Maybe in 30 years I can do that.
Okay.
But in any case, it's not a big deal. And you have root ball carriers that can carry the weights, and they can go down the 4-foot path and swing into the holes. And, and I'm not saying that they all have to be that. I'm saying we have in our regulations the ability to, if we wish, this is a flagrant cutting. And we keep looking at it, well, let's let this grow back, let's let the suckers come up. It's just not the way to manage the resource area.
I think, are you picking up on these things that we would like to see? We would like you to come back with a,
Taking numerous notes, yes. And I completely understand. I understand the severity of the cutting and the severity of the violation, absolutely. When I went in there, I was looking at this completely from what's best for the ecological integrity of the buffer zone. So in the proposal in the land management plan that I put together, that's the approach that I took. This is a violation, there was clearly cutting, the property owner admits to that. It was done. Now it's what do we do to restore this area and maintain the ecological integrity that still exists. So that was just the focus and the goal that I was approaching this from. I understand wanting to get canopy trees back in there as quickly as possible. One of the things that I looked at when I was just sort of taking the bigger picture of this is the fact that there's no soil disturbance whatsoever. And the invasive species issue definitely begins once you start disturbing the soils. So if we're doing a massive replanting or really large-sized trees, and there's a lot of soil disturbance that's associated with that in the buffer zone, that would definitely be a concern for me. So in looking at it from both sides, yes, this is a violation, yes, we want to get canopy back in this area as quickly as possible. How do we do that, causing the least amount of disturbance and maintaining the ecological integrity that exists in the buffer area? And if this had been full of invasive species, I would have been like, let's tear it out and do a full restoration. But because we have such a healthy, intact native plant community, that's why we're making the recommendations today. Just so you know how we
well, I
came
think
about
you,
this.
I think you have heard the board clearly, that they would like bigger trees.
Yes.
And that they would like a plan to deal with any invasives that may come
Yes.
in because of that disturbance.
Yes.
Madam Chairman, and all fairness to the applicant's team, this was discussed with us, with the staff, the approach that they were going to take.
Okay, but this is the
No, and
commission.
I understand that, and that was my caveat, is
Yes,
I,
of course.
Understand why they were taking the approach they were, but that it.
Yeah, we
ultimately
do
was
too.
the board's decision.
We do too, but
But I
we've
am
discussed
gonna-
it, and
I am going to stick
this
with
is our
my
direction.
Okay.
Yeah, Maury.
Just two quick questions.
This is really unfair.
When I went out there, I really did think about maybe a full restoration, start over.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much out there that's been damaged. A lot of it, even if you let it grow back, is never gonna be in its natural, healthy
It's gonna be completely
form. It's
changed.
gonna be totally
Community.
changed, community. Exactly, we've already got sassafras in there that wasn't there before. And I know that you've come in front of us before with full restoration plans.
Yeah.
And one of the things you have in here is, you know, in case there's knotweed or whatever, is invasives that come in. And I actually walked a couple of the properties to see if there was knotweed anywhere or other invasives, which are, it's mostly bittersweet.
Oh,
and-
some shrub honeysuckle.
Yeah,
I saw.
and shrub
Yeah.
honeysuckle. And I'm really concerned when they start bringing dirt in, because most of it's from recycle areas, that we're just gonna inundate that place with things that have never even been on that part of the shoreline. So, you know, I really don't know how to avoid that
I know.
and make you really have to do the right thing to put everything back. It's, and then the other thing, and I have to agree with Ted, you're really just, it was not you, the applicant.
Yeah.
It was a pretty egregious flagrant cutting. It wasn't just a couple trees. It was quite a scope. And to just go to, and I don't want to, you know, make a, you know, example for, we need 3 to 1 or whatever, but it does get rather tiring. That they have a, you know, unbelievable view. Everybody else has all the native stuff that all the other wildlife is all in, and they have the exclusive view. And if there's already a lawn there, and that's why this lawn is really big to me, because maybe that's where they could plant a whole bunch of trees to get a canopy. And along the sides of the path, because again, the path is already disturbed. They wouldn't have to go in trudging through all the other areas and, you know, and start planting there. I don't know if they're gonna come back and want a vista at some point. I have no clue.
They got that in 2007.
That's what I thought.
And this is what happened.
Oh.
It was an overzealous vista pruning.
You know, the
I
staff took the time to go out there and meet with the applicant, the builder, the landscaper, go out and review the vista windows, wrote it all up, took time out of this board, time to vote that.
So again, maybe the approach is to go to the edges of the path,
Mm-hmm.
where you're not getting in and disturbing, and it would be easier to control the
Yeah,
invasives.
just off that path.
Off the path, on both sides, and along the front lawn area. You know, to get some larger canopy going there, where you put the bigger trees, and then continue your you know, stump growth.
I mean, what's happened is it's just set this whole system back to an earlier successional stage, and it's gonna take probably 30 years before it matures back into a,
But if you're serious about it, you want to get the canopy and you want to get the
Right.
spread of the trees correct, so you get at whatever, 15, 18 feet from each other. And that's possible from using the path,
you
and
can
using
use the path
construction
and make
mats.
1 or 2
and
mats
roll it in.
off to the side.
Yeah.
So we'll leave that to you, Teresa,
Okay,
and to you. You're welcome.
okay.
Okay, Mike, would you like a continuance?
So just to summarize, we're looking for some larger caliper trees. We are looking for, and I want to be able to source those, particularly in pitch pine and oak, because it's very difficult to get larger caliper trees in those 2 species, as I know some of you know.
That's your problem.
We want specifically, we want to specifically show the areas where the trees will be planted, so locate those on the plans. Unfortunately, some of it, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, fortunately, it depends on how you look at it. The areas directly to the east and west of the path, these areas right now are the most densely planted, or it's the area that's most vigorously returning. So the areas that are actually areas that have some bare spots are up in here. And then once we get sort of to the west or the southwest of that path, it's actually really, really densely growing back in. So there's a lot of oak, there's a lot of amelanchier, there's a lot of sassafras going back in. So I'm wondering if we came back with very specific areas where we propose to do the replanting, would that be satisfactory to the board? So if we came back and located, for instance, Mike had his team go out, and we located very specific areas where we could put large caliper trees without doing major disturbance.
That's what we would like. And you
Okay,
can-
I just wanted to make sure I
You can have
understood.
temporary paths, like Ted
Okay.
said. You can show
And
where
then we also
temporary
wanna-
paths will be.
Okay, and then we also want to locate the lawn area, and the area that's what I thought were previous mitigation plantings that currently have some bark mulch at the edge of the lawn.
With the hydrangeas.
Side of the deck. The photo that I have, I didn't see, unless I'm looking, unfortunately, I didn't see the site previous to this, and I'm not familiar with the old plans, but the area that I think you're talking about, and if I can show you this photograph
What
just
would
to
mitigation
confirm.
planting be for?
Can I show
The house.
So
Didn't
this
we
is-
have the house?
Mitigation for the house.
No.
This is the area just off the deck. Is that the area?
Yes, and there's all hydrangeas in there.
Okay.
There's viburnum and hydrangeas.
Yeah, there was, I saw that. Okay.
And also put something to delineate
Yes,
where the buffer is.
a fence or a picket, split rail or bounds. Okay. Okay.
Do we have a date? We don't have a date yet.
It really depends how long it's going to take the applicant's team. 2 weeks?
Oh.
Teresa, if,
Teresa?
Yes.
We actually need your photos for the file.
Oh, sorry.
do you need 2 weeks, Mike?
Yeah, so we'd like the 30th, we can submit stuff by the 23rd.
Oh, no, they're not meeting the 30th.
Oh, so then the 6th.
The 6th, that's what I'm wondering.
That's 3 weeks from
Yeah,
tonight.
so basically, if you submit the stuff on the 30th, they can have it for the 6th, that would be great.
Mhm.
Yes.
Teresa, did you hit the point about incorporating the invasive management? Because I was
Yes.
gonna touch on that too, because when you said about the
Yep.
honeysuckle coming in, and,
Right.
I understand about the root disturbance, so maybe that needs to be incorporated.
We do have an objective to monitor for and manage invasive species within and around the project area using selective methods. Do you want it to be larger than that? Would you like us to expound upon that, or is that significant? I hate to put a management plan together for something that we don't know is there
Yeah,
yet.
that's all right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Michelle?
We also asked to show all the existing trees on the plan, as well as adding the salt
Yeah, I think
marsh.
Mike got that in the
Okay,
salt
thank
marsh.
you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
Could we have a motion on the table for
So what,
continuance
June 6th?
to June 6th? Did you do it already?
No, I
Oh.
would wait for the audience, but I'll make a
Oh.
motion to continue it till June 6th.
Second.
I will give the audience an opportunity now. Anybody in the audience have any questions on this? Anybody else? The applicant's representatives, Jen, the board? Okay, motion on the table is to continue to June 6th. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved.
I wish you hadn't missed it. No, I just couldn't play the picture.
New Silver Beach Association, 160 Silver Beach Avenue, 15, 17, 19 Moses Road, 0 Moses. And there are a lot of map designations, which you can look up on the Falmouth website. North Falmouth, for permission to conduct beach maintenance activities including grading, breaking, screening, removal of debris, and associated grading and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'll take any of my comments until after Mr. Pacelli's presentation.
Good evening again, Mike.
Good evening, Madam Chairman. Members of the board.
Thanks, Mike.
My name's Michael Borselli, Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant. I'm joined tonight by Ryan Hutchins, President of New Silver Beach Association. The New Silver Beach Association has applied to you for permission to manage the beach in the New Silver Village of North Falmouth. The area in question is on the north side, northeast side of Wild Harbor. It's just east of the channel entrance to the mooring basin of the inner harbor of Wild Harbor. It's an area that has frontage on Moses Road. There's a Town Road, Ocean View Avenue, and then further east is a Town Road, Silver Beach Avenue. And along this beach are several individually owned lots. Some are owned by the New Silver Beach Improvement Association. Some are owned by individual property owners. Some of them have homes on them with seawalls. Some of them are roads to the water with pavement. In the case of Ocean View Avenue and Silver Beach Avenue, there's a town of Falmouth owned parcel adjacent to the jetty at the entrance. So we've applied on, the New Silver Beach Improvement Association has applied on behalf of themselves, town of Falmouth, and several of the private property owners. And within the application, we've included letters authorizing New Silver Beach Association to apply on their behalf. We've listed them all as co-applicants. Last Monday night, the Town of Falmouth Board of Selectmen voted to participate for this lot. The only ones that haven't responded to a request to participate are this lot and these two lots over here. So they're not a part of our application.
Mike, can you just name those names so I can follow along on my plan?
Janet Keeler.
Lot 95?
Lot 95, now formerly Janet Keeler, trustee.
Okay, got it.
And then Lot 89, now formerly Lawrence, afternoon. Lot 87, now formerly Manuel.
89, 88, 87, no?
No, 87, 89, and 95.
Okay, so the middle one, lot 88 is going to do it.
Correct.
Okay.
There's no lot 88.
There's an 88 on my plan.
What plan, what's the date in your plan?
I'm sorry, there is an 88, yes. Yeah, there's a splice, there's a lot 88.
Oh, okay, you're pushing two plans together, I got it, okay.
So you're right, lot 88 as well. They're on
So
your...
87, 88, and 89, Jen.
Thanks, Ron.
Okay. Didn't you add, I'm sorry, I don't remember, didn't you add that, didn't you give me a
I added two new ones to you, submitted them to you last week.
that was 89.
89.
So it's
There's
88
only
and
one.
87.
Whatever you have in your file.
So 87, 88, and 95.
Right.
Yeah, 89 is the only one you added.
Could you add, yeah. Could you
87,
add-
88, 95.
Okay, got it. All right. This one. Okay, sorry, I got it.
Let's keep going.
The application is to do management of the beach, and we're asking for permission to do what other homeowners or associations have done and what the town does. Basically have permission to do very minor raking and grading of the beach, removal of debris, cleaning, and basically getting the beaches so that they can be used and enjoyed by the beachgoers. The work is proposed to be done above knee-high water, and up to, adjacent to, but not within the dunes. There's a limit of work proposed along the dunes in this location. I think Jen is going to point out that I think there's a dune that we didn't show on this lot, a small chunk of dune that we didn't show, a fragmented cluster of grass on this lot. There's no proposal to do anything other than on the beach, so I can provide you with a revised plan that shows that portion. The beach is on this, the beach here is up against a concrete wall, and these beaches, the darker brown, this is above knee-high water, between knee-high water and the revetment. And then further east, there's another seawall, and then there's a seawall and pavement at the end of Silver Beach Avenue, so between knee-high water and those structures. We're also proposing to do the same types of activities, and we've read and understand your standard conditions from other projects where you've approved work like this, specifically Tonsett Road area, the old Silver Beach area by the Seacrest. You reviewed and issued an order of conditions for the same exact type of work. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
And Ryan Hutchins is also here to answer questions.
Okay? Jen?
Mike, what do you mean by minor grading? Like, I'm gonna need the revised plan to show those other resources, with the minor grading.
Raking, minor raking.
Okay, because there's minor grading on the plan.
Okay. Well,
So-
raking, I mean, to have the ability to have a machine that drags the,
Yeah, I just don't want to see the, I mean, you know what I'm talking about, I don't want to see the beach level or anything like that. It's just raking and screening and cleaning.
exactly.
So can you do me a favor and just take that minor grading word out of that, so there's just no confusion?
Is that it?
Yep.
Who else is one?
Ed and myself.
Ed, you want to go first?
I'm going to let Maury go first.
Maury?
Mike, I had a couple questions, and I don't want to sound ignorant, but what is record mean high water? Is that like moon tide, apogee or perigee moon tide?
Record mean high water is what appears on record plans that are the plans that are referenced in the deeds of the properties. They're older plans. In this case, they were earlier in the early and mid-1900s. So mean high water may or may not coincide with mean high water today, and that would be due to either erosion over time or accretion over time, depending on where you are.
So you're using the mean high water line, not the record high water line?
Correct. I'm using mean high water as determined today.
I was just curious with the, increase in sea level, that it's, the mean high water is even lower, but, I was just,
It can,
I was-
I can answer part of that, because I have a friend who lives here, and before this groin was built, this all was disappearing. And then the groin was built,
And now it's growing.
and now it's,
Okay.
and now it turned into a nice beach.
So,
So,
impacts
mean
by
high
man
water-
have changed things.
Right. The groin helped build up a beach there.
all right, all right, so that answered that question. The second one is, on Lot 96, the new Silver Beach Improvement Association property, it's the only one you have a transect up into the dune. The B transect. It's the third lot over from your.
Yep.
Yeah. Why do you have a transect up there?
No reason, just to give you more information, so we can monitor the beach, have the ability to monitor the beach and the dune
All right.
in the future.
Well, I look at it as, that means that whoever's gonna work there says, okay, I can work in transect B. And this is the elevation that you gave him, her, whoever. So I would like to see transect B put down at the bottom of the dune as all the other transects are, so that it's not confusing for the elevations. Because I looked at your spot elevations on transect B, and you have it at 9 feet. Well, that's way up in the dune.
But it
I
may
know,
be
I
interesting
know.
to have that, if they're gonna do a transect there, it may be interesting to see if the dune's building up over time.
Okay.
There is a
As long
fence
as
there.
nobody goes in
There is
there
a
and.
fence.
Yeah, okay.
There's a proposed silt fence. I mean, we wanted to, it was we thought it was a good place to take a transect where we could look at the relationship
It's
of
just odd
the beach.
that you had it there. The only one. Anyway, okay, so if
A lot
everybody
of
else is
times on
okay with
beach
that, that's fine.
transects, they go like, if you do Woodneck Beach, it goes right across the dunes.
Well, I would have done them all. That's what I'm saying. Why just one? If you're concerned about what the growth of the dunes are, then, do them all, not just B.
If you'd like me to make this arrow move to here, I'm happy to do it. That's what we're talking about.
I'd rather have you,
Put all of them.
I'd rather have all of them further into the dune,
Can
to
do
the
that too. We can
highest
do
point
that
of the
too.
dune.
So we know how it's, is the beach grooming actually taking away? And I mean, I watch it around town with Chappaquiddick doesn't have any grooming, Woodneck doesn't have any grooming, because they're in the DCPC. And Old Silver Beach, it's amazing how much they take off of that with the rake. And Rebecca Haney from CZM had meetings with us and explained to us how important it was to keep certain amount of rock on the beach, the rack lines, it builds beach. So that was I'm gonna lead up to that you say that it's, that in the discretion, I think, Let me get it, so I have it in the right wording. It will occur as needed basis as determined by the new Silver Beach. Well, I don't think that's appropriate. I think it needs to be a little more nailed down, because you have rack lines for migratory birds at certain times of the year. We have horseshoe crabs breeding habitat. Is there horseshoe crab breeding habitat there? I know Old Silver Beach does. I don't know about New Silver. Anyway, that, otherwise, I've just seen it over the years, that if you say at your discretion, there's one cigarette butt, there's one Coca-Cola can, and they do the whole beach. So I think it's, dip netting is more prudent to keep as much sand and cobble, natural material there, than to just run the grooming rake up and down whenever you want it to be perfect. You know, I know it's 4th of July, Memorial Day, all those holidays, but at your discretion, I don't think is, I think maybe staff would have to go down and say it's time to go do it.
Could I speak to that?
Yeah.
The plan was to do it when needed, but it's anticipated it would be every 2 weeks, not less than every 2 weeks, through the summer.
Every 2 weeks?
That's a lot.
That's an incredible amount, because I don't believe any other association grooms their beaches every 2 weeks.
No. That's why that one worried me a little bit.
Okay, well, we're here to listen.
Well, we'll condition it.
How often does the?
I can double
Find out.
check.
Find out.
All right.
And I mean, you know, and I know that sometimes you have storms that'll bring in
have
garden,
to
you know,
do
it's,
it.
and you have to do it maybe more often, but other times it doesn't need it, but,
Well, you could condition it, I think, on an interval that you think's appropriate, but if there's an extraordinary event, give us the opportunity to notify staff that we'd like to do it in between those predicted times.
Yeah, that's a,
I hate to interject, but I have a question. If you were planning on doing it every 2 weeks, the association, you were gonna leave that silt fencing up all summer long against the base of that dune? How's that dune supposed to grow with silt fencing there? I
Well,
mean, I
it was
was
gonna
gonna
be,
propose something else besides silt fencing, because I don't want a sheer, barrier from the coastal beach to the dune, but, I mean, you have a limit of work that says that the machine won't go into the dunes because your limit of work is there. If you're saying that you're gonna be doing it every 2 weeks, I really doubt that the association's gonna be reestablishing that silt fencing every 2 weeks, which means it's gonna remain there all summer long, and I'm not quite sure the association members are gonna like that. I mean, I personally do not want to go to a beach to have a huge plastic black sheeting behind me.
well, first of all, it's not silt fence, it's snow fence. Snow, like the orange.
Didn't you say, you said silt fence a couple?
yeah, you did say so.
Okay.
Snow is what the plan says.
Oh, in the narrative it said,
Okay,
It's
so you are,
supposed
so,
to be
I'm
the
sorry,
type-
Mike, I thought I heard you say silt fence, so you're gonna put up snow fencing.
wood snow fence.
Even though wood snow fencing, you should be installing that in the fall, not in the summer. So now you're just basically creating a barrier against the dune, where snow fencing, if you read, if you look at the beach nourishment guides for Mass and any of the other publications about installing snow fencing, they say to do it in the fall and to do it a very particular way, which this does not follow that,
protocol.
that protocol in order to help build up the beach, and that's actually what I was gonna say. When you said silt fencing, it's, maybe the construction fencing when they do it at first to protect the dune, but then to incorporate a snow fencing, program in the fall to help build up that beach. I know of one beach, the association came to me last spring. They wanted to do some beach cleanup and some beach nourishment, and I encouraged them to install the snow fencing in the fall, and they did have a little bit of a beach buildup come spring, so that might be something you want to incorporate in the plan, Mike, for the fall, and then do it in accordance with the protocols. Sorry, I just jumped in.
Our plan was to show snow fence as a visual barrier to put your mind at ease that there's no work proposed in the dunes.
Okay.
Frankly, I don't think it's necessary, really. And no, they don't want to install it and take it down every 2 weeks. Does it need to be groomed every 2 weeks? Probably not. Do we want to have the opportunity to have the flexibility to do that? Yeah. So maybe we don't need the fencing at all. Maybe we just put some stakes that say dune area keep out or something like that, so that we don't have to be installing and disassembling the fence.
I know it's not my turn, but who's actually, are you, this going to have a machine?
It'd be a small machine that drags the,
And is it going to be somebody who normally does this kind of work?
I think in this case, it should be that the person that does the work should be approved by either the staff or the
yep.
board.
Well, that's where I'm,
That's
that's where
what-
I'm
That's what
going
I'm
with
waiting
this.
for, yep.
that's a condition.
And, and if it's clear with that person, if that person comes in and knows that they stake out where they're staying away from, and then they pull their stakes up at the end of the grooming process. Maury, it's your turn.
Yeah, no, that was all, and then the one letter in the file, and I really didn't get it. It was that the association, it was from Miss Stephen and Mary Horn. And where is this property that says that it's marked as association property? I guess I was a little confused, because they have their lot, it's 86, am I
Yeah,
correct?
When they purchased that property, there was a condition upon the purchase that the New Silver Beach Improvement Association members would have full access to their beach in perpetuity. So
Okay.
there was a confusion in the way the letter was written,
Okay,
and that was their response.
Thank you, sir.
For the record, could you identify yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ryan Hutchins, President of the New Silver Beach Improvement Association.
And I hate to tell you this, but the next time you have to answer, would you answer into the microphone?
Ryan Hutchins, President of the New Silver Beach Improvement Association.
Okay, thank you. Ed, you're done?
Yep.
For now.
I'm done.
Ed,
Yeah, I have a question. How do you do this project where you have a couple of properties not cooperating? You show some very nice, straight, defined lines, but this is sand that tends to move around, so how are you going to control all of that?
Very good question. You have to mark it. We don't have permission to grade their beach, so we have permission to use the beach, but they don't want to participate in the activity to the grading. So it's going to have to be marked, and we're not going to grade that section.
so how
do you get
are you
there?
are you gonna have to go down
You can-
between
they
mean
can
high and mean
traverse
low
it.
water
They
to
can't
traverse
do
it?
any work on the beach. They can people can use the beach area, pass and repass over it. They just chose not to respond to our request to participate. So that doesn't mean we can't do the activities on other parts of the beach. The reality, it's gonna be silly, and I don't know what's gonna happen when they really do the grading, but they're gonna have to somehow be supervised and advised not to do the
Raking.
cleaning and raking, not grading.
Silt grading.
And the same with that other side. I mean, it's silly, but we're non-responsive. That doesn't mean we don't go forward. We can't help it if they're not responsive.
And they give you permission to go over their property to do it? Is there a letter?
But not to do it.
It's deeded to be able to cross,
They're allowed to cross.
With equipment? All right, I didn't
Everybody's
know.
allowed to, well,
but not to do raking and cleaning. That, they chose not to participate, so we're not going to. We can't include them in the application, and your approval doesn't give us permission to do it.
so they lift up
They lift
whatever
up
they're
and
doing?
move, and then move on to the next one. Yeah, I the same way. I mean, I'm thinking the same way, but we can't help that.
It'd be interesting to see the contrast.
Yeah.
Get some pictures of it. Ted?
None, no questions.
Mike, no
Mike?
questions?
Tom?
When I rake my lawn, I don't rake my neighbors. So and sometimes there's a definitive line. I don't see this being that hard a thing to do. And as far as just rough guesstimating 210 feet of your limit of work, 12 stakes and some caution tape while he's out there doing it. And this is the only section of the beach that has it. Everything else is revetment and not a question. That's something that I know I could put it up in less than 15 minutes and take it down in less than 15 minutes.
It's stakes in it.
Yeah, stakes in, caution tape, see ya, and it defines the area. And as far as skipping over that, oh well.
Arthur?
The only question I have is, what happens with the debris that's raked?
It gets collected and hauled off and disposed of at an appropriate landfill.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I have one other question or comment, and you had brought the issue up of the person doing this work. I want to make sure that you find someone who's maybe done it before, someone who has some demonstrated competence in the area, and still to be approved by staff. But please come in with recommending someone who knows what they're doing. That's very important.
Someone that doesn't
No
grade,
questions.
but rakes instead.
Yes.
We don't want someone that knows how to grade.
Not
We
really.
know about people who know how to grade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't know how, but.
Not their
Who
graded.
borrow sand. Courtney?
You're grading it, what about rack? We usually get very concerned about removal of rack.
Well, you know what? This is a perfect opportunity to leave the rack on the islands that aren't being
Yep.
graded, because really the best thing to do, the best thing to do is leave islands of rack.
Well, we can't remove the rack on those lots.
Exactly.
And then the rack will be there to
Because
delineate it the next time.
I know people in town would like the rack gone in June, July, and August, but the birds fly north in May and June, and they fly south in late July and August. That's when the birds are there, just when the people are there. So there's a conflict. So I think that's the solution for you. You're lucky that those people
I
don't
was
want it.
going to suggest that solution.
Yeah. Yes.
Mike, in our discussions with CZM years ago, the rack line and the debris, depending on what it is, should be put at the base of the dune to build the dune.
What was that, Maura?
Debris to me is things like garbage, but seaweed and rocks, the town puts it at the base of the dunes.
Because it helps build more
Like
dunes.
over by
It's
Old
part
Silver
of
Beach, they
dunes.
put it between Seacrest and them so that it builds up the dunes, because they do pick up seaweed.
You know
and
what,
they-
the only fear I would have in this case is that would just become a dumping area for
Okay.
all their unwanted rock. That's up to the board. I know this area fairly well.
Yeah, okay.
This is pretty sandy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah.
sandy. It's not a rocky beach.
Yeah,
It's a
very-
sandy beach.
It's a medium sand.
So basically, they're
Yeah.
just taking the rack away, is what they're doing.
Unless you leave it in the islands on the properties that aren't,
You mean take it off theirs and put it on the
No, no,
people?
no, no,
Oh, just
no.
leave theirs? I was like,
if you can't work on their property, how are
You
you
can't
gonna
take- you
can't.
dispose of stuff
Yeah,
on
we-
their property? You can't do that.
Accidentally.
Oops. No.
Let the wind
Mike,
take
you
it.
was gonna, I'm sorry, support doc?
that was all. And I would want to know what the
You can
equipment
meet- I
was that
mean,
they're
we can,
using.
Leave, some rack, and you can talk about that during deliberation. Okay?
I just wanted you to comment on the dune island that's growing on the former Kevin Murphy parking
He-
lot that we talked about.
He did,
last year.
she did. She said it has to be on the plan.
How big is it? Do you know what it is? Or is it just never marked? or-
Oh, it was marked, you actually
Marked
reviewed
in
an
the old
application.
plan.
Right.
Under good, it was about that big, which is.
It was yeah.
It was like a
We'll go,
20
I'll go out. Mike's gonna have to revise the plan to put that on.
It's probably a 25-foot diameter area of beach
Take the word
grass.
grading off the plan.
So, Mike,
I'd like a
we'd we'd like you to have a continuance also.
But we're hopeful to, these seem like relatively minor things. Is it possible to continue it for 1 week and I submit the plan? Because we're getting into beach season. You're meeting next week.
Unfortunately, I understand the association's concern with beach season, but you did put in an application at the end of, or the middle of May.
Well, yeah,
So the timing issue, is not this board's.
No, I understand. I'm asking for a little bit of courtesy. If the issues aren't that earth-shattering, maybe we can hear it next week. That's all I'm asking. You're not meeting on the 30th.
Well, what do we need? We need a few change details in the
You
plan.
take off references to the words grading, extend the beach profile into the dunes, add the small dune to the plan.
Take the limit of work off the plan, and I'd actually really encourage the association to look at installing snow fencing in the fall, and I'd like to see how you're gonna do that, either in that, sawtooth pattern or back, like, you know what I mean?
I think we should think, we
Because that will just help
we'll take
build
that
up.
under advisement and come back in the fall once we understand.
Okay, that's
All right.
fine, I just think it would be
All
very
right.
helpful to this beach to help it build up in the.
Yeah.
So, to me, it's a lot of minor edits that don't require a lot of review.
Jen?
Throw me under the bus. Fine.
Make a motion to give a
Not
continuance for a week. Second.
Any,
Next time, please put these applications in a more timely manner.
any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, hearing none. This is continued to 23rd of May. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
And tell us what the equipment is, Mike.
Yes. I need a phone call and a-
This is one of my running routes, Mike, so I'll check it out periodically during the summer.
It's now one of my new running routes too.
That's right. 23rd, did you say? Okay, now we're on to continued requests under a hearing for a notice of intent. Federal National Mortgage Association, 233 Gifford Street, Falmouth, for permission to install native mitigation plantings for an unpermitted wooden deck to replace invasive plants that have become established and to remove dump material near the wetland and associated landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I will save any of my questions until after Mr. Hall's presentation. And you don't need a form for this because it wasn't.
Right, this was not open. Sir, good evening.
Good evening. Bradford Hall, environmental consultant from Yarmouth, was retained by the Federal National Mortgage Association to do a mitigation plan for a unpermitted deck that was built. I'm not sure when it was built, but I believe they went to go for a certificate of compliance, and the commission found that there was a deck that wasn't on the plan. So, in discussions with your staff, it was decided that a good course of action would be to do the mitigation, get rid of some lawn, and put in appropriate native plantings. And also, there are some invasives on the southwest portion of the lot, and a minor stand of multiflora rose and some, not Japanese bamboo, but just like a regular bamboo. And get rid of that before it takes hold. And the knotweed is off the site into the town property, but there's a lot of it down off on the town property.
It's actually beautiful.
The bees like it. So with that, I'd be glad to entertain any questions. It's a fairly simple project. We put on your A zones, your B zone. The area is marked out. I apologize that it wasn't staked for the last meeting.
That's okay, everybody's allowed one pass.
Yeah, I haven't been before this commission, so.
Right,
it's,
right. Well, now you know.
Now I know.
Good. Thank you. Jen,
No questions.
who has this one? I don't think anybody was assigned. So,
No, because that's when Therese.
right. Ted, we're going to start with you.
No, it's pretty clear on the other planting details. No questions, thanks.
Mike,
No question?
Maury.
The only thing we're gonna probably ask is that you plant the plants in the lawn, and so that the
Right.
invasives, okay.
Yeah, you don't want to dig it up.
No,
Right.
Yeah.
that was all.
Tom.
Welcome to Falmouth.
Thank you.
Look forward to anything that you do. I have no questions.
No questions, thank you.
Ed.
I'm good.
Michelle.
No questions.
Courtney.
I'll be the renegade here. I have a question.
Sure.
How do you propose to get rid of the bamboo?
I would, it has to be dug up. And it has to, make sure you get all the rhizomes and all the roots around it, replaced with some loam and put in the mitigation plantings.
So
Same with the rugosa, not the rugosa.
so you don't propose herbicide or anything else?
No.
I'm
You
good.
hope
No
you don't
other
have to deal
questions.
with it again.
No, just get rid of it and replace it.
No, I know, it's nasty stuff to get rid of.
I know.
Very optimistic, that's.
Yeah.
I'm not that optimistic that you're just gonna dig it up and it's gonna be gone. I think that you're gonna have to manage it, or somebody's gonna have to manage it, because there's no, it's hard to get every little rhizome.
I know. Well, we put in, I guess, and you should probably put in the certificate of compliance with the order, that it be maintained for the life of the, life of the order and also the life of the certificate.
It'll be on the deed.
Perpetuity.
And on the deed.
Well, the Federal National Mortgage Association, I'm sure is going to manage.
Is going to manage it.
I'm sure.
The new owners, maybe, I mean, it gets recorded on the property, it should show up at the closing, so, I would hope.
Okay, I will entertain a motion.
One second, Madam Chairman. Brad, just to let your clients know that the board usually does a 3-foot spacing on plants, especially 2-gallon plants. So on page, sheet 2, you know, that order might change that, okay? Just so
Okay.
you're aware of that.
3 foot rather than 4 foot?
Yeah, it'll be
Okay.
subject to the order, and the order will specifically state the spacing requirements.
Courtney.
We'll move to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Okay, any other questions on the board? Any further comments? Any questions in the audience? Okay, hearing none, motion on the table is to close this hearing and take it under advisement. You with me, Susan? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you.
Thank you so
Come
much.
back and visit us again sometime. Mark and Evelyn Perot, 57 Madeline Road, East Falmouth, for permission to install an addition, native mitigation plantings, and associated excavating and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'm trying to inform you of this. Ted, Mike, Maury, Betsy, Tom, Ed, Arthur, Courtney.
Good evening. Oh, do you have any other questions? Good evening, Barbara.
Good evening. For the record, Barbara Frappier with Warwick and Associates, representing the Peralts. I'd like to start by apologizing for my last appearance here on this project. I had totally slipped a cog. Hopefully, I've corrected it, and everyone will be happy. This is a single-family dwelling on Madeline Road. Proposed work, it's on Eel Pond, the proposed work is to replace or put in this footprint where the concrete patio is, a small addition, and also a covered porch. Because we are in with the A buffer, we need to do mitigation plannings. Our mitigation calculations show up the 505 square feet of native plants, which is what we're proposing in this area. If you look, if you didn't go out, I think most of you did, it's this area of lush green lawn that was now going to be bayberry. One of the other issues that was brought up by Mr. Schmidt was the shed. The shed, I can find aerials of it being there since 1986 anyways. It wasn't there in 65, and it wasn't there in the 75 aerials, so somewhere prior, after 75 and prior to 86, the shed was there. And I will submit those photos to you if you'd like to have them. I have also put on the plan a detail for the drip strip around the new addition as opposed to gutters, downspouts, and dry wells. And I believe those were the changes that needed to be made. Those were the omissions, and if everything went out again, it was also properly staked this time. So if you have any additional questions or anything I missed, I'll be happy to answer the questions.
Thanks, Barbara. Yes?
Barbara, did you research the floats and everything that Tom?
They're all gone. What's on there, what's there now is what is licensed. Any excess material, the object in the driveway.
Can you do me a favor and give me the revision date?
On this plan,
Yeah,
6/18?
okay, yeah, I got it, okay.
6:15?
So the
That's the, no,
float
that's
that,
the, no, sorry.
Oh. Is that it?
okay.
what's there is shown on the plan and is
Part
there in the
3.
water right now does not exceed the Chapter 91 license.
Okay.
The applicant is aware that if they want to make any modifications to their docking system, they would have to come back before the board and apply for that.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks.
Figured I'd cut Tom off. What he said that.
He's so disappointed. Any questions on the board? To my left, to my right?
Make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Any questions from the audience? Okay. Motion on the table is to close this hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you very
Always nice
much.
to see you, Barbara. We'll allow you one pass too, Barbara. Falmouth Yacht Club. However, Mike does not get a pass. He's already had his pass.
I think he already knows that.
Falmouth Yacht Club.
Well aware of that one.
0 Clinton Avenue, map 46B 0201700A, for permission to allow ongoing beach maintenance activities that include grading, cleaning, and screening the beach sand. Among mean high water, deposit 600 cubic yards of sand for beach nourishment and associated grading. And landscaping.
My name is Michael McGrath. I'm a registered engineer and professional land surveyor.
Wait a
I
second,
work
Mike,
for-
I'm gonna let Jen speak first. Mike, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Michael McGrath. I'm a registered engineer and professional land surveyor. I work for Holmes and McGrath. We prepared the plan and the notice of intent. This is land of the Falmouth Yacht Club. This is Grand Avenue coming down, and this is Vineyard Sound. Clinton Avenue runs westerly. The beach is all to the south of the intersection in Clinton Avenue. Right here is the Tides Hotel, then there's the Tides Bulkhead. If you go out and look, and most people don't, there's a jetty here that is on the east side, is much shorter than the jetty on the west side. That's a clear indication that the littoral drift is in this direction. And in fact, if you look at the aerial photograph that's attached to the notice labeled NHESP map, you can clearly see that the drift is coming this way. So what's happened is the entrance to Falmouth Harbor is starving this beach because it interrupts the natural flow. So they had thought that the town was going to ask, or was applied for a notice, and they thought that they had agreed, as they had traditionally done, to let the town deposit the spoils here. But the town is, instead of putting it here, they're putting it somewhere else upstream. So the bottom line is they've come in to provide, to perform beach nourishment and also maintain the beach. Existing on the site is there's a riprap coastal bank. There's a dune behind it, and it's all beach. There's an existing coastal dune here. This is the edge of the Tides Motel. There's a stockade fence, several bins that have been there for a long time, a wooden rack, and there's a stockade fence with an opening. But the work is basically from property line around to property line, but around the dunes, and obviously not including the riprap. There is a proposed activity that's coming up. It's a regatta in July, and they have used this beach, and when they've gone out to this beach this year, it's very stony. So what we've asked for is to put sand down basically a foot over the entire area above mean high water, and that's 600 cubic yards. We also asked to do grading, cleaning, and screening, which basically means that you basically rake the beach on a seasonal basis. The work is being done parallel with the water. There's an opening that exists in the fence that they'll come through. They propose to use Lawrence Lynch that has done this kind of work before. I think I've covered all the issues that were described in the notice. Accompanying me tonight is Dana Smith, Karen Smith, Libra Smith, and yes, I'm sorry, I couldn't remember. The first thing that goes to my hand is the memory, and I don't remember anything else. So are there any specific questions that I can answer concerning this?
Jen?
Yes, Mike, I'm gonna go with the snow fencing. Is the Yoxville willing to install the snow fencing in the fall to help naturally build up their beach? So maybe in the future, there won't be the need to bring quite so much sand in. I know this is the beach I was telling the board about before, and you installed it, and you got a little bit of a buildup. It worked a little bit.
The short answer, first of all, my name is Dana Smith, Falmouth, Mass. The short answer is yes.
Okay.
And we did install it.
Yeah.
We did collect some.
Some, yeah.
And we know, having grown up here, there are years when God taketh,
Yeah.
giveth and taketh, and been taking a
Absolutely.
lot lately. We thought we had limited success this year, and we are willing to do it on a seasonal basis.
Yep.
Okay, I think this is another one that wasn't assigned, so, Court, I'll start with you.
No questions.
Michelle?
No questions.
Ed?
No questions.
Arthur?
I'm good.
Tom?
I'm glad to see that they're receptive to the snow fence in the off-season, and no other questions.
Maury?
I always have a question, I'm sorry.
I don't know that too.
Well, 600 cubic yards, 1 foot deep, why are you, if you're gonna cover all the cobble that's there, why do you have to rake it and clean it up? Sounds to me.
The order is good for 3 years. The activity will most likely occur once, but I was applying for a long-term to do the grading and raking.
So it's sort of a maintenance plan.
That's why.
Initially, you're gonna put this on, and then you're
Yes.
gonna maintain it for 3 years.
My daughter actually did a science fair project on the other side of the jetty, and you'd be amazed how much plastic comes in off the ocean. She had a plastic bin that was half full, and she only went there 3 times. So there's a large amount of plastic comes in off the ocean.
Oh, I understand the cleaning issue. So it's basically for debris. Now, the other question, Mike, and I'm sorry I missed it because I have to write everybody's names in. You said something about the town is.
Traditionally, the town put the spoils from the channel on this side.
The tide
On the,
Traditionally, the town put the spoils from dredging from the
Right.
Howard Channel on this side.
yeah,
But this last permit, they go into the town beach on the other side.
why would they do that?
I don't
This
know.
is the permit that we.
I know,
long-term
well,
permit.
this is why I'm a little confused, because whoever's in the audience for whatever project, the tide goes 2 different ways in the town of Falmouth, just to let everybody know. It depends on who wants the sand and where the sand might end up, is how the tide's going that day. And the Woods Hole group told us, when we did Minot, that the tide went that way. When we did Foster Road, the tide went this way.
No, there's cells. There's cells that go one way or the other.
Okay,
But-
well, I just want to make sure, maybe that's why the town switched it to the other side, is so that it doesn't go back into the channel, because I think the Woods Hole group told us that that's why they switched it to that side, so it wouldn't fill the channel back up. But now you're telling us that it goes that way. So
Well-
then that sand is actually going to fill the channel up, and yours isn't.
Right.
Okay.
I will tell you.
We're going to start putting dye on some of the sand, so we know where
That-
it goes.
At Mara Vista Avenue, where Mara Vista Avenue comes down to the water, that if you looked at different aerial photographs, at least in that area, it does go back and forth. But when I look at the interest of Falmouth Inner Harbor, you have a 300-foot long, I don't know what the length is,
Yeah.
but it's a very long jetty on the west
Mhm.
side and a very short jetty on the east side. And you go and look, it's all stacked up against it. So I say the littoral drift
Right.
is where it's indicated from the aerial photograph. And then when you go here,
And someone who works on beaches says the same thing.
but if you go here, the
Jeff.
town's gonna have to add some, well, they have an erosion now on the end of the tides.
Bulkhead, yeah.
There's, at the parking lot's just.
Falling in. That's a different night. Is there any eelgrass out there? You just said land under the ocean containing shellfish?
The reason I hesitate is wherever I swim in Indian Sound, there's always been eelgrass, but I don't know here. The eelgrass is the tallest for Green Stream.
Dana Smith again. I can answer that briefly. Having swimming, we swim there often in the summertime, and if you get out beyond the raft, beyond say about 50 feet, you'll see some eelgrass, but you don't see it between the raft and the shoreline. I think there's too much tidal activity for it, that's my guess. Also, you asked earlier about why Surf Drive this year. Town meeting voted to accept, I think it was $40,000 as part of the Community Preservation Act to transport the sand this year over to Surf Drive, whereas in the past, the funds for that weren't available. That's my understanding.
Okay,
So
thank
it's
you.
not going right on either side of the channel.
It's going to
No,
Surf
it's going
Drive.
up, but no, don't, I stand by my testimony, it's going upstream.
It's going further up.
I think that was it. I really did have a concern that 600 cubic yards is a lot of sand, but I would, if you didn't put it over if you put it over a 3-year period or as needed, I mean, a foot thick for the whole beach. How many tractor trailers is that?
50. They're not going to be, probably wouldn't be
Dump-
tractor
dump
trailers, it's going to
trucks.
be your.
And how are they
gonna
gonna
be
get down?
10-wheelers From Lawrence Lynch, probably. So that's 50.
Yeah, 50 10-wheelers. That's a lot of sand.
It's 30.
42.
They usually carry about 12, 42. They don't get they say they can, but
I
I've
usually
rarely
get
gotten that.
18
Yeah.
to 20 ton.
Well, Arthur knows. What is it?
They're getting 15 yards in one of those 10-wheelers.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
I've never gotten
42
15
loads.
yards when they deliver. but-
Yeah, it depends if you're buying or selling.
Okay. Just like the tide. Okay. And you're going to protect that coastal dune, obviously, or mark it so they don't bury it?
They're going to make a bigger coastal dune if they put all that sand on that beach.
All right, no, it's,
What kind of sand?
well, supposedly it's compatible. I mean, we haven't seen it. Do we see the grain size compatibilities?
They're gonna have to.
Sieve sizes and all that?
One
Think
from
she-
the beach and one
Okay.
from wherever the upland source is.
Okay.
I don't want just the upland source, I want the sort of the beach sand and the upland source.
Yeah, because usually it's either LaRusso's or Lynch.
It's going to be Lawrence Lynch's.
Do you have any questions?
They're talking. I'm done.
I just have a comment, and that is, there is a lot of cobble on that beach.
Yeah.
And that should stay. That's part of the whole system.
Yes.
My understanding is that cobble helps preserve the beach, and we've seen more of it in recent years than, say, just 4 or 5 years ago. So I think we're compatible with that.
It's a bigger grain size than you're used to on beaches, but.
Right. The other thing is, my wife had brought in a grain sample, I believe.
Yes, Karen Smith, and I'm the chairperson of the Falmouth Yacht Club Beach Committee. And I did get a grain size analysis from Lawrence Lynch to compare with what we already have at the beach, and I submitted that to Mr. McGrath.
Thank you.
I'll make sure you have it.
I was going to say, as
Let
long
me
as
ask you a
Mr.
question,
McGrath.
Did you do a grain size analysis of what's out there now?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as we get all that information. Sounds good. If there are no further questions, we could have a motion.
I make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Any other questions? Any questions from the audience?
Where's yours?
Okay, motion on the table is to close this hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Got that, Susan?
Thank you very much.
You're with me? All right. Janice Smith, 250 Alder Lane, North Falmouth. Jen?
1 second, Madam Chairman. Okay. Got it. Got it. Hang on, Madam Chairman.
For permission to construct a 3-bedroom, single-family house with attached garage, deck
That's
with...
grain size analysis.
Thank you.
Deck with stairs, install a Title V sewage disposal system, dry wells, paved driveway, walkway, AC unit, remove and control invasive plant species, install native tree and shrub plantings, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Request for variances under FWR 10.13 from the performance standards set out in FWR 10.30 7D1B, FWR 10.185A1A, FWR 10.185A3E, FWR 10.187, and/or FWR 10.384D. Jen, can you give us the quorum?
Yes, Madam Chairman, the quorum for this project is Tom, Lori, Betsy, Michelle, and Courtney.
No, I don't think that's correct.
Yes, it is correct. We didn't open the last hearing.
No, but there was a vote in the quorum. Well, for the record, my name is Brian Wall. I represent the applicant, David Smith.
Brian,
Madam Chairman, after the last hearing, I asked town
Attorney.
council to review the minutes and the hearing, because the quorum was, the issue came up where you said you were going to present if the board reset the quorum, and that was not done. So I asked Attorney Harris to review the tape and the minutes regarding that hearing and just give us her opinion on what the sitting quorum was. And this is the information that gave her information, that her opinion that she gave us was that her opinion was that the original quorum stood, so that would be Tom, Maureen, Betsy, Michelle, and Courtney.
Well, I'm not going to try to fight town council's opinion because I know you're going to follow it, but there was a vote, the quorum was reset.
but we didn't take any testimony that night. This is what we always do. This
Right.
happened in the last hearing.
Right, and I think that we didn't do that because Courtney's back was
Right.
out, and there was another reason as well, which
You
is...
had an opportunity. You asked for the hearing to be reset.
Right, I did.
We took a vote to reset. Then you said, I'm going to continue. We took no testimony that night.
Oh, I agree with that.
The 5 of us who were on this quorum were the ones who heard the first hearing, were the quorum.
So may I have the quorum again?
Tom, Maureen, Betsy, Michelle, and Courtney.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes?
I don't understand this.
I don't.
I'll tell you what happened.
Uh, I'm-
This group came in, we asked them to postpone the hearing because we knew we wouldn't have a quorum because I think Michelle was out and
No, I
Courtney
was
had,
there.
you were
I
out
was
and
there.
Michelle had a bad back.
No,
I had a bad day.
Courtney had a bad back.
So disgusting.
So we started the hearing. We said, well, we could reset the hearing. They said, we want to reset the hearing, we don't want a continuance, we'll come in. They came in. They said, we'll have a vote to reset. We said, a vote, and we had a vote. We said we can reset the hearing. They had an opportunity to open the hearing. They did not open the hearing. When a project comes before us, and like Mike's project last week, and we didn't open, then the hearing is when we open the hearing. We had no testimony, therefore, we have the original quorum. There's no testimony. They had an opportunity. They chose not to do
Well,
it.
and, Ms.,
But we never reset the quorum.
no, I think.
for that night.
Well, we had a vote, but we really didn't reset it
Madam
because we had
Chairman.
no testimony.
Right, there was a reason for that, though. I take from your tone that there's some sort of adversarial position with regard to what happened, but if I recall, what happened was, this case has been continued a number of times.
At
And,
the request of your client.
right, for legitimate reasons. And we came the night of the last hearing, I forget when it was, 3 weeks ago or so, and Mr. Byrd had a bad back, and he was struggling, I remember, to stay. He was downstairs, he was waiting to come for this hearing, but the night went on too long. And so he wasn't here, and there was an inadequate quorum to convene.
And
so
we
the-
took a vote. We
Right.
said, you said, we're here to present. My whole team is here. We would like to present.
Right.
We took a vote. It was 4-3 to continue. You said, I don't want to present tonight. I'm going to continue.
But if I.
I want a continuance.
I'm trying to remember, there was a legitimate reason for that, and I think there were absences.
No, there actually were.
That's right,
We
Mr.
had
Schmidt
enough
didn't have
people.
time to review, and he didn't want to participate, and I said, we want him to be on the quorum.
Well, you don't get to choose who's on the quorum.
No, but
The
it's-
rest of the people were here.
But again, I'm not trying to be argumentative.
But I said I was going to have to recuse myself
Right.
because I was totally unprepared.
But we still had
and
a
then
quorum.
hadn't expected to
But at
be
that-
discussing it.
And then at that is, if I may, Madam Chair, just from my own recollection, is that when Commissioner Schmidt made the comment that this was a lot to absorb, and on that evening, because he had not priorly been on the quorum, that the vote came up to reset the quorum. And however council says it, I'm just trying to clarify this in my own mind.
Attorney
Yeah, I
Harris,
thought-
Attorney
and-
Harris looked at the minutes, and then she said, I'm going to, when I'm sure the minutes were good, but she said, I'm going to watch what went on during that hearing. She watched the tape, and she said, the quorum is the original quorum. You didn't reset the quorum because you did not reopen the hearing.
And
So
Madam Chair.
just two comments, if I may. Again, I might be wrong, but I take it from your tone that that there was some trickery or something. The issue is we reset the quorum, in my recollection, and then Mr. Schmidt made the announcement that he was going to recuse himself, which would have reduced the number of voting members, and we didn't want to proceed under those terms, and then we made the decision to continue. There wasn't some sort of plan to get the quorum reset and then say, aha, we're going to continue. It was a series of events that led to that.
Mr. Wall, this is the information that we've been given by our attorney. There are 5 of us on the quorum. We're ready to hear what you have to
and
say tonight.
We're ready to go forward. I just wanted to make sure I understand everything, and I would add one more further comment. I have a phone in my office. It would have been nice to have been apprised of the change of events, because I left with a certain understanding, and now it's going to be different. But in any event, we are prepared to go forward. If the quorum is reset, why can't the entire board sit that's here now?
Because we have a quorum. We've already heard it.
But we're starting from scratch tonight.
Madam Chairman, Brian, the board. Okay, right now, you have an opinion from your council that the quorum is set to Tom, Lori, Beth, and Michelle. Those sitting members have the ability for
We
able
listened to an
hear
hour
the
and a half
pro-
of presentation.
Yeah, listened to an hour and a half of presentation. I'm not really quite sure why having the original quorum is an issue at this point, but I clearly outlined what had happened to Attorney Harris, asked her to review the minutes, asked her to review the tape, and in her opinion, the sitting quorum on this project would be the members that I identified. I think the applicant should just go forward with the rest of the presentation and hear this. Why we're arguing about quorums when there's one established and they have one, I'm lost.
I would like the floor, Madam Chair, please.
Go on.
Okay. I am confused, and that's sometimes not hard to do. However, granted, staff has had a chance to talk to council, absorb that, review things and such. Less than 5 minutes ago, I got told the quorum that I assumed I voted on was no longer, it was not part of it. It doesn't bother me one way or the other, because I'm on the quorum no matter what. But it just seems to me, I'm a little offended that something I vote on, and all of a sudden, less than 5 minutes ago, I find out it's, I just really, I too have a phone.
Tom, if you
I'm
don't
not-
understand it, you can call Attorney Harris.
It's looked, and I'm just making a point, it's looked through with a litigious eye at something, as opposed to the volunteer that sits here and sat through all this stuff, and was here, and saw the events, and the considerations given for another board member who had a back injury, and there was missing people. This was all, if that's all moot, that was a waste of my time. That's where I'm getting the rub. And like I said, it doesn't matter because I'm on the quorum, but there was an awful lot of effort and what I thought was a direction that we were going for a continuance, and then as my recollection is similar to Attorney Wall's, that Mr. Schmitz didn't have enough information, and that's why the continuance. Now, however, the quorum is the quorum. I'm not going to fight that, but I had to vent that before I scream.
Tom, they had an opportunity to continue that night. They chose not to continue. They had enough people on the quorum.
Actually, Madam Chairman, I understand your frustration, Tom, I really do. This board was attempting to show the applicant a little courtesy by doing what he did that is outside your normal practice. And trust me, there'll be no resetting of any quorum anymore. I've heard of it once since I've sat here. We were attempting to provide the applicant with a little courtesy. After the applicant chose not to go forward, that was their choice. There were plenty of people on the quorum at the last hearing to go forward that wouldn't have recused themselves. That choice was made by the applicant. Because it was a little convoluted, I asked Attorney Harris to just take a look at it and make sure that everything was fine, that everything was procedurally correct. Okay?
Courtney, can we make it?
But to sit there and say that, it was, we were trying to provide some courtesy. There have been a number of continuances that have nothing to do with this board and everything to do with the project, the applicant, the team that represents that person. So I just trying to get clarification on how to move forward with this. Because one member chooses to recuse themselves, you had a sitting board that could have gone forward. That was a choice that was made, and nobody should get upset about it. You have the original form you had back when the project was first presented.
Okay, let's
It's
move
not a
on.
big deal.
Courtney?
Yeah, obviously, my back was the issue here, but I think that.
No, Courtney, there were other issues.
Yeah,
mean,
but
this
I
was
think.
continued multiple
I think
times.
town council is correct, because even though this board voted to reset the quorum, and there was perhaps some things that proceeded from there to your continuance, the very fact that the hearing wasn't open made the vote for a resetting the quorum a moot point. The minute you continued it and it was not open, it was a moot point. Had you opened the hearing, at that point, the new quorum would have taken effect. That's the process.
I'm not disputing that.
So,
All right,
I
this
think we
is enough
spent,
with this
quite honestly, I
conversation.
think we spent enough
Mr.
time.
Wall,
Let's move on
are you
and get to
prepared
the
to
point.
go on?
Well, I'm not going to belabor the point, but I just want to clarify one thing. The request to continue came after, I wasn't prepared to talk about this tonight, so I'm trying to remember what happened. But what happened was there was going to be the quorum, and then there were only 3 voting members. And so we were given, before it was reset.
Right.
And so we were given the choice, do you want to go forward with, actually, I think the choice was you have to continue. And Jen's correct, we asked to have the quorum reset.
Because your applicant was traveling from Florida.
Right, she
and
came
could
up from
not-
Florida,
yeah.
that's exactly right, Jen, thank you. And so the board gave us the courtesy and reset the quorum, and we were all set to go, and with all due respect, Mr. Schmidt said, I wasn't prepared, I didn't think I was on the quorum. So then we subsequently made a decision to continue. But I don't understand why we're going back.
Mr. Wall, this is the opinion from
I
our
wanted-
town attorney.
I wanted
We
to
would all like to
clarify-
move on with this
I wanted to
project.
clarify what Jen was saying, because it made it look like we had asked for the continuance initially on a voluntary basis when it's not true. I would like.
No, we had a quorum issue, and.
Right.
I have a question.
We required a continuance, and as I said, we were attempting to.
I don't want to kill this, but, I mean, if this wasn't opened last time, shouldn't it go back to the original quorum from the meeting prior?
That's what we're trying to do.
Okay.
We're trying to do that.
Okay.
That's what we're trying
That's
to
what
do,
it's all
and that
about.
would be Tom, Maury, Betsy, Michelle, and Courtney, which is why I just.
And
I'm
we're
not
all the
quite
ones that
sure
heard
why.
the original testimony, and no new
Right, and-
information has
Yeah.
ever
Madam
been
Chair,
given.
can
Now
we
that we've
proceed?
talked about this
Yes,
for
we
5
go for
minutes, I'm going to ask the board for.
15 minutes.
Time flies when you're having fun. I'd like to ask the board for a 5-minute to table this so I can explain what's happening to my client, because she doesn't understand this.
Absolutely.
We certainly can give you that, and we have something to vote. So if you would mind explaining it outside?
Yep.
I make a
We'll
motion to
move on.
table.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. We'll see you in a few minutes.
May I just ask one question?
Yes.
It's tabled, Madam Chairman.
Oh,
can't-
you
actually,
can't ask it until we open again.
Oh, you closed, okay.
No, we tabled
table.
it.
We table,
Close is tabled.
Thank you.
but don't go away.
Well, I know what's going on.
All right.
Fully prepared and expected.
Vote orders of conditions.
Yes, Madam Chairman, although these are due till next week and they will be ready for you to discuss next week, we did have a request from David Wall to vote Quinnapoxet Avenue because they're up against some deadlines.
Yep, let's,
So I don't obviously have a draft, which, I have the form. Maury, can you turn around? Oh, wait. I might have it here, Maury, don't worry about it.
Which one is it?
That's the, Loma Heights kind of pops.
Oh, okay, got it.
The quorum would be Ted.
Ted,
Mike, Maury, Betsy,
Tom, Ed. You get that?
Hold up. Ted, Mike, Maury, Betsy, Tom, Ed.
Just what I said.
So, this was the patio that we got the fill calcs for, Ted, that you had some concerns about the grading out there. I think all
About 50
those-
cubic yards being put in.
What was that?
There's quite a bit of
Yes.
fill going in it.
No, and we needed to get that clarified and on a plan, and that has been done to your satisfaction. I take it since we closed the last hearing.
Oh, we have the information, yeah. it's-
Yeah, we have the information.
Everybody's happy.
So what would the board like to do in this sense? I mean, do you feel that it's going to adversely impact the resource areas
No.
or some special conditions that need to go in there?
It's pretty innocuous in all reality, because you got
Okay.
the road between it and the top of the coastal bank, and it's an existing, it's not like they're building the wall that's out front.
No, and you have Grand Ave in between, but I do
Right.
think it was important to get the fill calculations.
Absolutely.
Because that absolutely, was an issue and needed to be clarified for everyone involved, including the contractors.
Right.
Buildings.
And I think that we should put the standard that the shrubs be planted in the lawn.
Yeah, you'll have
Yeah.
your standard special conditions. Are there any unique
And the
ones
limit
that
of
this
work shouldn't be
board-
removed until that area is stabilized.
Okay.
Because it
Yeah,
is gonna have a
it is.
slope. And even though the ocean's on the other side of the road, it's not very far for Phil to
Oh,
go.
no, especially with that little walkway.
Yeah.
Even worse if there's a catch basin over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make a motion to accept the order as discussed.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, motion is to accept the order as read and discussed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. We'll move right on to other business, which is Lori is going to nominate Arthur as our representative to the Coastal Ponds Committee.
Yes, I am.
Could we have a second on that?
Second.
Feel rushing.
Any discussion?
Would you like to
Yeah, a
do
little
that?
discussion. Madam Chair, I agree to go on a little test meeting, try it out, see if I could fit it
And if
into
you
my
don't like it, you
schedule.
can pass it on to someone else.
I don't know about that, once it's voted in. So I say that we postpone this vote until after the meeting, and I get a chance for a trial run, and then we can revisit it. How's that? Just to be fair to everybody.
She'd
All right,
rather
I know
rope
the
you in
feeling.
first.
Okay.
Yeah. I withdraw my
Have you
nomination
Thank you very much.
until next
Been
week.
to any of the meetings?
I have not.
Okay.
Even though I have invited him to come to several meetings.
You invited me, and then you forgot to remind me. And you went without
Well, that's
calling?
because it
Okay.
got switched. That's because I keep getting called to come.
Okay, okay.
We can postpone it for a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Until Betsy comes back, in all fairness to you.
Yeah, I just need to get a feel for it. I have a very busy schedule, and
Absolutely, I
Okay.
completely agree with you.
I want to be fair to everyone.
The meetings are not as long as these meetings.
Okay.
They're only once a month. They're often every 6 or 7 weeks in the summer.
What day is it?
Monday.
Do
Okay.
you want to do it?
No,
Oh.
no.
Have
And
you
that
done
was
it?
a problem.
Have you done it?
Well, I tried to do CPC, but it's
Right,
on a
okay.
Thursday, so you're up till midnight at this one.
Right,
And then,
right.
you know, you're dragging.
Right.
Get up at
Double
4 in the
header.
morning.
Moving right on,
Betsy,
Okay.
I just have a question. When is the next Coastal Ponds Committee meeting?
he knows.
I do know.
Oh, okay, can I know?
You have to remind,
No.
June 11th.
June 11th, thank you.
you want me to remind you on the 10th?
Yes, please do. Everyone,
give me a wake-up
put it
call
on your
too, all right?
calendar. Moving right on.
Yep.
The CPC, we also have a vacancy there.
Yes.
And Mary has agreed to do it, and Mary will be back with us within a month. But she, Mary,
I said yay.
Yeah.
oh, yay.
She knows about this?
Yeah.
I am not making this up.
Might as well vote it in now.
I'm not making this up.
Put it here, do it.
But,
Commissioner Schumacher is very aware of this.
Okay.
but I do think in fairness to Mary, we should wait until she's here before we do it. And she also is working with people on CPC, so it may
So
be.
why don't we just postpone the votes to other committees until,
June 11th.
no, let me need a regular calendar, hang on.
The following meeting after June 11th.
Well, you'll be all happy to know that.
It's the 13th.
You do meet the 13th,
Yeah.
but you don't meet the 20th. So,
June
we would
13th.
have to, Arthur, would that give you enough time to
Absolutely.
kind of
Go to the meeting, sleep on it.
feel your way around that committee and see if
I'll
you
have to
think
make
it's
sure
a
that this
fit?
is a meeting that you will want to come to again.
Okay.
And maybe
Do we
the,
need a
That's on the
motion to
11th,
do
right?
this?
Yes.
No, I'm
I
just
don't think
gonna
we need a
put-
motion.
No, I'm just gonna put postpone till June 13th.
And, Madam Chair, through you, what are the days that we don't meet? What dates? Because I only have until May 2nd was the last X on my calendar.
30th.
But we don't meet
No,
the
30th.
We don't meet the 30th, we don't meet June 20th. Teresa sent you all an email outlining this multiple times.
I don't.
Okay, we don't meet July 4th week.
Thank you. I can still use my pen.
Okay. I will have Teresa send you all another.
No, don't send it, because I don't do
Doesn't-
email.
she doesn't get it.
Oh, okay.
I don't even want to look at it.
July 4th, what's the next
Don't
date?
answer my phone, I don't do email.
June 20th, July 4th, August 1st, August 22nd, September 5th.
Thank you.
Not
That
at
wasn't,
all.
that
That's as
wasn't
far
that
as we
painful,
are.
and we have time to kill, so there you go.
No, absolutely not. I just didn't know if you wanted to email.
No.
Okay, I'll.
Everybody else would get it.
Thank you for letting me have the
No,
floor.
they're not ready.
Well, I mean, you can discuss them. I mean, if the board wants to talk about some of these orders and discuss them and vote them, we can do it. Absolutely.
I am.
I need,
What ones do we have? Maybe we could get some of it.
Do you want to look at some of the other orders?
Ooh, can we sign now?
No, do you want to vote some of the other orders?
Oh, yeah,
I
if
mean,
you
we
have
can
them.
discuss them. That's a good idea.
Sure, Donald App. Parcel 3A, Knobnocket Trail, East Falmouth.
My papers are downstairs, so.
I know.
You'll need to, talk me through any special conditions. Oh, and, the cost of this one is.
It was last week.
Yeah, it was changing.
So everybody was
Mike,
here.
Maury, Betsy, Tom, Ed, Courtney, Michelle,
Everybody,
pretty much everyone.
everybody. And this was a little dock, right?
Correct.
It was-
Arthur, were you not
Right.
here?
Last week, no.
Arthur was not here.
this was the association and,
Yeah, I think this is gonna be better.
yeah, oh, it's vastly better.
Did we ever get a plan that had the land containing shellfish on it?
No, but we can add that as a thing, that they need to submit a plan that states land containing shellfish.
Shellfish?
Shellfish.
And just so the board knows, I hate having to do that. We should have not closed it. We should have waited for that to come in.
Well, we're not voting it, so we still have the
I
opportunity
know.
for it to.
But if we were voting it.
What do you mean? You are voting, right?
Did
are
we get the
voting.
chapter 91 license?
No, they're gonna apply for it.
Yeah, they
No,
need,
they're
That you
applying
asked
for the
for?
chapter
Okay.
91 license after your approval.
There were
So
no
you
soundings.
You closed the
Yeah.
hearing, Tom, so they can't submit any more
Information.
information under an open
The
hearing, so you have to do
soundings
it
along
under.
the edge
but
of
we had told them that we needed the land.
Yeah,
Can
yeah,
that- that's
and
part of
that's
it.
fine, yeah. And they'll submit that, I'm not too worried about that.
I know, but it's on a plan, and you might be going tomorrow.
Other than that, it's just the rebuild of the dock
Correct.
Chesapeake doesn't pipe in for
and
engineering.
the installation of those pipe pilings, correct?
Yes,
this profile.
removing the old and installing new.
Okay.
Anything else?
There was the discussion about the water line.
Oh, and the electrical, if,
Yeah, the
that's in the
electrical and
future,
water.
if they needed to, they'd come back with
I
it.
think, yeah, I don't, you can put that down as a discussion, but I don't think we should give a condition on that
No,
yet.
there's no,
I think they have to come back
right,
if they want to do that.
they were gonna see how the piles did, and then,
Yeah.
And then
No,
review it.
Yeah, that's what I would say, is that in the future, an amendment would be required to.
if.
Right.
Yeah, if they wanted to install a more permanent.
Well, it wouldn't be. They
Oh, yeah,
discussed
they
a
would.
seasonal line
Correct.
from December to March or something.
Correct.
Okay.
Make a
We got
motion.
those two down.
And what about the mean high and mean low water passage? Remember there's an issue of walking up out of the mean high to go around the.
Well, that's in
On
chapter,
Salt Marsh.
that's
Chapter 91.
chapter 91.
So
And
that's
they're
gonna get
applying
addressed
for
in that, so we don't have to worry about it?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And if they have to put steps or something, they have to come back for an amendment.
Correct.
You're talking about the
you
lateral
back?
access
Yeah,
along the
correct.
shoreline.
Yeah.
And we should condition, they said no vessels were over, they said they're 13-foot to 18-foot vessels, and it was for unloading only?
At the
At
T.
the,
At the
Yeah,
end.
at the
T.
T, yeah.
The T.
And then the T at unloading and loading.
yeah,
Unloading.
embarking, disembarking, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could we have a motion?
Make a motion to take and accept the order as discussed and written.
Second.
Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved.
Make a motion on the table.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Everybody awake? Okay. All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. We're open again. Good evening again. Brian?
Thank you for that courtesy, too. We appreciate it. After discussing the matter with my client, she's decided to withdraw her notice of intent.
What was that?
Okay,
My
she's
client has
withdrawing.
decided to withdraw.
Withdrawing her notice of intent. Thank you. We don't have to take a vote on that?
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. While we're here, should we do the other two votes? Or not? Jen? Everybody want to stay for a couple of minutes?
I never had to put that on there. Where do I put withdrawn?
Just, we'll put down here,
Yeah.
whoever's withdrawn on today's date. Ronald and Janice McHugh, 52 Mattapan Street, East Falmouth. Jen?
What was that, Madam Chairman?
Ronald and Janice McHugh, 52 Mattapan Street. Do you want me to give you the quorum?
I feel like I need to hold on to this.
Well, the only difference
I know, but it should be interesting.
he didn't know the size of that pile is why I didn't. With 2 hours' notice, I wasn't ready to sit here on a hearing. Particularly when there was so many different.
You said that to me today. Something goes in and something goes out. Oh, Mike, what's that?
It's a little bit like picking the jury.
Ah, right. I'm not on this one, I know that.
They heard something in the original presentation that scared them.
Wait a second.
Oh, look, it's from yours.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Oh, it's the pier. Oh, I know this one.
thank you.
Thank you. Not sure what just happened, but.
We aren't either.
You get to go home early, that's what happened.
Oh, you never got to speak. Well, it was nice to see you.
Well, I was going to come to your defense because I was at the last meeting and
Oh,
recall exactly what happened. but-
well, thanks.
Oh, now I know. I had to look at the file because for the life of me, I was drawing a
And you're going to tell us who the quorum is.
on what Mattapan was.
Oh, Mattapan, I get mad.
Ted, Mike, Maury, Tom, Ed, and Courtney. So this is the pier project that had the little deck issue and bank issue that they've withdrawn from the plan, so you're strictly looking at the construction of the dock. Okay?
Yep.
And then we went through all the stuff with Division of Marine Fisheries, letters, and so forth. I would add that if you are to keep the L configuration at the end, because they do need to keep that type of configuration in order to get the 10 feet off the extended property line, am I right, Mike?
Yes.
That's why you have the extended,
Right.
the L, is that we do have standard language that you could use or have used in the past. When faced with an L, that means you have a railing on the inside, no cleats, things like that, so
Yeah.
there aren't boats that are tucked up into that. And then the mooring field is strictly where it is shown on the plan. I don't have my notes, they are downstairs, that wasn't prepared to discuss this with you tonight. So if you do have any notes on your,
And we don't have to vote it
No,
tonight.
we can,
We don't have to
if
vote
you're not
it.
prepared, we don't have to.
No.
We're just killing time,
Yeah.
oh,
which
well
we're pretty
then,
good at.
No, I'd like to hold off on this one because this is the one with the soft shell clam
yes,
and mitigation was cohogs.
yes. Okay, well then we'll hold off on the other two. We did Toby Lane Association and Victor Walls, Twin Epoxy Cal. And your other business is postponed until June 13th.
So I'm gonna make a motion.
Why don't we do Cape Cod? That wasn't very difficult.
That's true.
Everybody remember Cape Cod?
Yep.
Yeah.
We had it last week?
Yep.
All right. I have to do the plan.
Cape Cod, you want, you have,
Something comes in, something comes out.
That was DSS, right? And that had they didn't have the landscape
P&B.
plan that was,
P&B Realty.
yeah, and it was a progress print.
It was the progress print.
Yeah, that's another first
Oh,
for
the
us.
progress.
Yeah, a blur.
Right, and the progress print, the only condition I remember from that is that he deviates by 1 inch in that.
Yes, yes.
Correct.
And the other condition, Jen, was to plant in the existing lawn. Do you want to look at it? I have it right here.
Plant in the existing lawn?
Yes. The-
Yeah,
the-
oh, yeah. Like we always say.
You want the progress plan?
Yeah, I had that. I don't know where, I saw it when I first got here.
Okay.
It's in here now. I was just looking.
Jen?
I know.
Yes, if it deviates 1 iota from our progress prints.
Right, and plants have to be planted in the lawn.
3 gallon, our standard planting, because all they have is to enhance the existing
Might be
vegetative
interesting.
buffer.
They didn't actually
Actually, yeah, is he planting it?
No, he specifically said
Yeah.
the same mix that's there,
Yeah.
but out that far.
Correct.
Yep.
Moving, yeah.
That's what he said.
Into the lawn.
Jen?
Yeah, just make sure it's the standard
It's the same
sizes.
sizes and the same composition as that's there, which I
Yeah.
think is a mixture of 2,
Yep.
right?
Do not deviate from progress print
By 1 inch.
by 1 inch.
Under penalty of death.
This penalty is very worthwhile. Got it. Okay, so the only one we're gonna do next week is the 50 Madison.
Yep, right. And I'm not
With
here
that, I make
anyway.
a
So,
motion to close the
we're
hearing.
gonna make, did you make the motion?
Yeah.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor of the motion on the table, which is to accept this order of conditions as discussed, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Tom? Susan? Tom Maury. Motion to adjourn, we're done. Got it.
Brian isn't trying to suck me into the wall.
You seem to think you were the ringer.
So they're just gonna sit and read.
Just because I was favorable to one of his previous clients?
So they're gonna resubmit the whole thing. I mean, that's what they're gonna do.
Jen, are they all?